This recording is for the class on Tuesday, the 9th of September, for the two chapters, Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. Chapter 3 is on multi-channel retailing and Chapter 4 is on consumer behavior. So here we go. For Chapter 3 on multi-channel retailing, what is happening these days is that retailers have started using more than one method of selling their products and their services, and that is referred to as multi-channel retailing. That is, retailers have started doing in-store retailing and non-store retailing. In-store retailing has been the traditional method and offers the advantage of physically seeing, touching, feeling the product, personal service, entertainment, and most importantly, the socialization of consumers, and so on and so forth. The non-store retailers, like catalogs, offer convenience and are easy to use. The other non-store retailers who sell through the internet also offer convenience, a very broad and deep selection, offer a lot of information about the products, and offer very personalized service because it is much easier on the internet. Multi-channel retailers are trying to offer customers all available methods of buying, and they are moving according to the customer's buying habit, i.e. they are covering all bases of retailing channels. However, they also need to make sure that the different channels are seamless and do not contradict each other, and all the information and all the products that are given in different channels match each other. The goal of non-store retailers is to give customers the same experience as in-store retailers, and this is where the problem lies for non-store retailing. Simply because they are non-physical methods of retailing, they have to, in one way or the other, provide exactly or as close as possible the same experience as in-store retailing. That brings us to the conclusion on Chapter 3. But one thing I want to point out is for Chapter 3, try to think of retailers that are brick and mortar retailers, retailers that offer their products and services through catalogs, retailers that offer their products through kiosks, and retailers that offer their products online. Once you start thinking about these retailers, this chapter 3 will make a lot more sense, simply because you'll be able to find out that all of these retailers are trying their best to attract as many customers and not give away their competitive advantage to their competitors. The talking points for Chapter 4 is on customer buying behavior, basically consumer behavior. This is something very similar to what you have done in your principles class or even in your class in consumer behavior. Retailers need to thoroughly understand the different stages that their customers go through in their buying behavior and use it to their advantage so that they can attract customers and ultimately make their customers buy from their store, even though they might be offering very similar products and services in comparison to their retailers. And they might even be able to charge a higher price than one of their competitors if they are able to understand the needs of their customers. So now try to think of what a retailer needs to do in order to attract customers if they are able to understand the different stages in their buying process. So the first thing you need to do when you look at the different stages in the buying process, in one column try to figure out what the customers go through in the different stages in the buying process, and in the right hand column try to figure out what a retailer has to do in order to address each of those stages so that ultimately the customer ends up buying from that specific retailer. So here goes the different stages. The first stage is need recognition. Can a retailer try to influence customers and help customers in recognizing a need? So for instance, when you and I recognize the need to buy soap or detergent or shampoo or jeans or even a car, can a retailer help the customer recognize that need, even though sometimes the customer may not have recognized that need? The second stage is the searching for information about retailers. Can a retailer provide information to the customers so that the customer now feels comfortable and confident in going to the retailer's store or website or the catalog, feeling comfortable that the retailer is going to give them the best value for their money? The third stage is evaluating the retailers relative to competitors. Here again, a retailer has to make sure that they give customers enough information so that they can compare the advantages and disadvantages of the retailer in comparison to their competitors. So the retailer has to make a convincing enough case that they are better than their competitors. The fourth stage is selecting the retailer. The customer then, based on the information, based on the evaluation of the information, selects the retailer based on whichever retailer is the best fit for the customer's need. Then the customer selects the retailer and then visits the retailer. After the customer has selected the retailer, they go and visit the retailer, either in store or their catalog or over the web. And just because the customer has visited the retailer does not mean that the customer is going to buy from the retailer. The visitation is a foot in the door, but then after that, the retailer has to make a good enough argument so that the customer ends up buying from that particular retailer. Then the customer purchases from the retailer. Again, depending entirely on how the customer feels, the customer is only going to purchase from the retailer if the customer knows that the value offered by the retailer is better than its competitors. The word value basically means whatever is important to the customer. For some of us it may be price, for some of us it may be the atmosphere, for some of us it may be the service. So again, based on that definition, the customer chooses the retailer that provides it the best value for their money. And after the purchase has been made, the customer evaluates that purchase and the experience from the retailer. This could be positive, this could be negative. If the customer feels that the experience has been negative, the customer is very likely going to return the product or never come back to the retailer. On the other hand, if the experience has been positive, then the customer is going to revisit the retailer, will be loyal to the retailer, and very likely will recommend the retailer to his or her friends and acquaintances and family members. The customers go through and what retailers need to do in each stage and help influence customers to buy products from the retailers. Okay? These are the stages, and again, I emphasize that what you need to understand from this is, yes, understanding the needs of the customers, the different stages, but also what the retailer has to do to make the customer buy from their store and not their competitor's store, even though they might be selling very similar products, even though they might be selling products that are higher priced than their competitors. For instance, can a retailer do something to make a retailer recognize a need that he or she may not have realized? Should a retailer communicate with its customers and tell them about their products and services they offer and how the retailer is better than its competitors so that the customers choose to visit the retailer? If the retailer has been successful in getting the customer to visit the store, what should the retailer do to make sure that the customer ends the visit by buying what he or she came to the store? And maybe something over and above. So can you, as a retailer, give customers what is referred to as customer surplus, which is better than the value that they're looking for? And finally, what should the retailer do to make sure that the customer returns for a future purchase? That is customer loyalty, customer retention, i.e. has the retailer done everything to see that the customer had the best shopping experience? Has the customer satisfaction be maximized? Now the key part here is the shopping experience. So retailers will make sure that the shopping experience of customers have been the best and their satisfaction have been maximized. If the customer does not feel satisfied, if their experience has been less than what they had expected, they will not come back to the retailer and they might even badmouth the retailer. The saying goes, if you have one dissatisfied customer, you may very likely have 10 or 100 more dissatisfied customers simply because of word of mouth, and this dissatisfied customer may be able to prevent others from coming and buying from your store. So the goal is basically to make the shopping experience the best that the customer has experienced, so that the customer recommends your store to other stores. Make sure that you understand the different stages in Exhibit 4-2 and Exhibit 4-3 regarding how a customer decides which retailer to shop at. What information do customers have about the different types of retailers? Exhibit 4-2, the first part of Exhibit 4-2 talks about the information that the customers have about different retailers. Exhibit 4-2, the bottom part, talks about the beliefs about the store performers' benefits. So based on the information available to retailers, customers form their own beliefs about the performance that the stores will be able to give them and the benefits the store will be able to give to them. Then the next exhibit is 4-3. 4-3 basically looks at the customer's decision making in terms of how important are these benefits to the customers. So retailers might offer different benefits to customers, but some may be important, some may not be important. For instance, a retailer may be able to offer low prices, and if the low prices mean that you may have to spend a lot of time because there are a lot of people, lines are long. Maybe for somebody who's very busy, may not be interested in spending a lot of time in the store, that may not be a very important benefit, as opposed to somebody who does not have a very high income. Low prices may be much more advantageous than maybe the time pressure. So Exhibit 4-3, the first part talks about how important are these benefits to customers. So we as customers basically assign weights to those benefits. The benefits that are important to us are highly weighted. The benefits that are not as important are not weighted as highly. And then finally, the customer rates different retailers based on the beliefs about their performance. So the lower part of Exhibit 4-3 looks at how we as customers rate different retailers. For instance, based on our belief about different retailers, we might rate retailers very differently. And some retailers like Walmart or Kmart or other mass merchandisers may have long lines, and maybe the rating by somebody who's stressed for time is not going to be high. But if you go to maybe another store like King Soopers or Safeway, where the lines are not long, for somebody who is very busy, they might rate them very high. Finally, in order to figure out which retailer the customer is going to choose, multiply the weight that you have given to those different benefits with the rate that you have given to the different retailers. So basically what you'll come up with is a weighted score for each retailer. By multiplying the weight and the rating, you come up with the weighted score for each retailer, and the highest weighted score is a retailer that the customer is going to shop at, because it maximizes the customer benefits based on their belief about the retailer and based on how important they think those issues are to the retailer. Be sure that you understand these two exhibits, Exhibit 4-2 and Exhibit 4-3. These are very important decision-making criteria by a customer. Now, there are different types of buying decisions by customers like you and I. The habitual buying process or routine buying process, the limited buying process, and the extended buying process. Basically what you and I as customers do is that we buy some products on a routine basis. We are habituated. Gum, detergents, soap, shampoo, cereal. And these are not very high-risk purchases. So we do not take a lot of time simply because there is not a whole lot of risk associated with this purchase. And then you have the limited buying decisions, where there might be some perceived risk in the purchase because maybe the price is a little bit higher, maybe because the products last a little bit longer. And in this category, you might look at clothing as an example. And then you have extended decision-making process, where the time it takes to make the decision about visiting a particular retailer is much more longer than the previous two examples, because the product that you're buying probably has a lot of risk if you make the wrong decision, and is more expensive than the previous two categories. Here you're looking at products like cars, maybe diamond rings, expensive clothing, expensive furniture, and things like that. The social factors that affect the buying process, you and I are also affected based on how the economy is doing, based on the size of our family, based on the influences of the family, and based on the groups that we belong to, and based on the culture that we come from. Different cultures buy products differently. They have different criteria in buying. For instance, somebody in the United States may buy products using a different criteria than somebody in China or India or Japan or South Korea. So different cultures, simply because cultures have personalities, or people in different cultures have personalities, and their buying is affected by their culture. And then finally, this chapter talks about the segmenting the markets, especially the retail market. How do marketers, or why is segmentation even important? Basically, segmentation is nothing more than the process of splitting a very heterogeneous market into smaller homogeneous markets. By segmenting the market, the retailer divides up the market into groups of similar people. So for instance, 10 different segments might mean 10 different markets where people within each segment are very similar to each other, but they're very different than people in another segment. Then the retailer will decide which segment to pursue, and that segment becomes the target market for the retailer. But before choosing the target market or the group of customers that the retailer wants to go after, the retailer has to evaluate those segments in terms of its actions. Can it take any action in attracting that group of customers? Can it identify those customers, and can it come up with a profile of those customers? If they're not able to come up with a very in-depth profile of those customers, it might be very difficult to attract those customers. Is that segment sustainable, or is that target that they're going after sustainable? Will it last for a long time, or are they very fickle? Are they going to disappear tomorrow? If they are not very stable and they do not last a long time, then the retailer is going to be very hesitant about going to that particular segment. Okay? And can the retailer reach that segment through its commercials, through its other advertising, or through any other channels in order to attract them and tell them about the benefits of the retailer? What variables should a retailer use for segmentation? This is also something straight from your principles class. You can use geographic variables. You can, for instance, have retailers that target the warmer climates like Florida and Texas and California. Or you can have segment the market based on demographics. For instance, Abercrombie and Fitch, Aeropostale, and others who target the teen and the young, they are using demographics to target their customers. And then on the other hand, you have companies like Sears, who target the much elderly population. And then you have geodemographics. So the retailer can actually say that they're going to go after a certain demographics in a particular region. So they might not go after everybody all over the country. What kind of lifestyle are they catering to? For instance, if you look at REI and some of the retailers that cater to outdoorsy people like Cabela's, you know that they're going after a very different lifestyle group of people. The different buying situations, you know, for gift giving, for occasions, wedding, you have different kinds of retailers that target those groups, and different types of benefits being sought by different groups of people. Retailers can use either one or two or a combination of all of these above in order to pick its target market. But the crucial thing for any retailer or for any marketer is to very thoroughly understand who their customers are. The more you understand your customer, the more you can define them in terms of their likes, dislikes, in terms of their profile, the better job a marketer, be it a manufacturer or a retailer, can do in marketing its products. That brings us to the conclusion of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 that is for Tuesday, September 9th. Thank you.